Everyone knows Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and Burning Spear. But reggae runs far deeper than the songs that make it onto playlists and t-shirts. Beneath the surface lies a treasure chest of spiritual anthems, protest hymns, and mystical grooves. Tracks so powerful they shaped the culture, yet slipped under the radar. From Yabiyu's haunting prophecies to the Congo's echo-soaked prayers, from forgotten steel pulse gems to Junior Bile's revolutionary cries, these are the records that reveal reggae's raw soul. This is
CEtrends.
And today we uncover the top 15 greatest reggae songs you've never heard of. The hidden soundtrack of Jamaica's golden era awaits. Open on late 70s Kingston, scarcity, spiritual yearning, and sound systems carrying scripture over sub-bass. In the middle stands Vivian Jackson, Yabiyu, a singer with a trembling tenor and an Old Testament worldview. Where many roots records offer uplift, Yabi, you often sounds like a prophet warning a city at dusk. Deliver Me From My Enemies is more than a title track. It's a prayer set to rhythm. Yabi, you channels the Psalms, persecution, deliverance, covenant, and points them straight at Babylon. He doesn't shout, he pleads, and that makes the message heavier. Listen for the way the horns answer his lines like a small choir, and how the bass line circles a short motif until it feels ritualistic. The drums sit a hair behind the beat, giving everything a grave, processional step. Spaces between phrases feel like dub, even when nothing is stripped away, air as arrangement. The track codifies a key roots idea, devotion as defiance. For selectors, it became a dusk-hour record, too solemn for peak hype, perfect when the dance turns reflective. For modern diggers, it's a blueprint of spiritual dread, sound that prays and warns at the same time. From prophetic dread to private ache, if Yabiyu speaks to a community under pressure, our next cut turns inward, one singer alone in a crowded world.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
Prince Lincoln Thompson wrote like a playwright. Small scenes, plain words, piercing feelings. On the Experience LP, he steps away from anthems and lets vulnerability take the mic. Nobody Here But Me is solitude without melodrama. No thunder, no lightning, just the quiet after everyone leaves. It's the rare roots song that treats loneliness not as a metaphor for Babylon, but as a human condition. The chords move with a gentle inevitability. The guitar skank is almost conversational. A soft organ pad fills the room like dusk light. The bass doesn't try to be a hook. It's a companion, walking with the vocal rather than under it. When harmonies enter, they don't lift you out of the feeling, they deepen it. Because it isn't overtly political, this song slipped past many casual listeners. But for singers and writers, it's a lesson. Roots doesn't need slogans to cut deep. Intimacy can be revolutionary when the market rewards broad strokes. If Nobody Here But Me maps the inner room, the next track opens the window. Same voice, same pen, now aimed squarely at the streets. By 79, the rhetoric of collapse, empires cracking, systems failing, was everywhere in reggae. But few songs humanize that picture like this one. Lincoln doesn't gloat at Babylon's downfall, he observes it. Rather than a victory lap, the lyric sketches crumble as a moral consequence. It's judgment, yes, but sung with the weary compassion of someone who has seen too much. The drum pattern is firm, almost martial, while the horns draw lines like smoke rising from a ruin. Key detail: the backing vocals echo short fragments, little laments, so the hook feels communal. The mix leaves space after the phrase "is falling," like a floor briefly giving way. Songs with this title exist across the canon, but this version's tone, measured, mournful, means selectors can drop it in either mood, after militant steppers to cool the fire, or after ballads to harden the air. It's a utility cut that never feels utilitarian. Judgment has fallen. Where to now? Toward instruction, toward a way to move through the dark without becoming it. Same album, different weather. If Babylon is falling, watch as walls crack. Walk in Jah Light asks how to live while they're still standing. This is a catechism set to reggae. Short lines, direct counsel, no varnish. The message isn't triumphalist, it's practical. Keep moving, keep clean, stay aligned. Notice the minor to major glint in the harmony, like clouds parting for a second. The bass is patient, stepping down at line ends as if to say, Amen. A slightly more active percussion layer keeps your shoulders swaying. The groove feels like walking, not marching. Because it avoids slogan shouting, this track lives long in personal playlists. It's a sunrise song in a midnight album. A reminder that hope in roots music often arrives as discipline, not fireworks. We've moved from prophecy to loneliness, to judgment, to instruction. Now we cross the sea to Birmingham, UK, where a band turns anti-apartheid grief into one of the quiet monuments of late 70s reggae.
Stories of his dead fictitious.
2 years after the murder of South African activist Steve Biko, Britain's Caribbean diaspora was defining its own sound. Political but lush, militant yet meticulously arranged. Steel Pulse wrote a whole album of witness, tribute to the martyrs, and buried its softest blow here.
I cried and I cried because
Biko's Kindred Lament does not reenact the headline, it sits with the absence. The lyric reaches beyond one man to the community of grief, kindred, who inherit both the sorrow and the work.
yeah, blame South African security.
Hear the chord voicings, almost hymn-like, with suspended tones that never fully resolve. The guitar chanks are filigree, delicate lace under a heavy theme. Bass and kick are restrained, letting the vocal arrangement carry the weight. Close harmonies that feel like arms linked at a vigil. Small melodic motifs recur between verses like candles being relit. In a catalog known for sharper, slogan-forward anthems, this track proves another route to protest. Elegy. It gave selectors a solemn cut for memorial segments and reminded listeners that reggae can be both rally and requiem.
1977.
These 5 pieces sketch a complete spiritual arc: petition, solitude, judgment, instruction, lament. You can feel a people thinking out loud through music, choosing humility over swagger, patience over panic, courage over noise.
Still they wouldn't leave him alone. No, they won't. They provoke you.
Up next, we widen the circle: Nyabingi foundations, apocalyptic hymns, and the mystical side of roots that producers and collectors whisper about, but most casual listeners never meet.
Them call it keeps us together is to hope that we small somehow.
Late 70s Britain, National Front rallies, police harassment, and a Caribbean diaspora carving identity in the cold. Steel Pulse had already shown the world that UK reggae could be as fervent and meticulous as anything from Kingston. On tribute to the martyrs, they perfected a language of velvet harmonies carrying iron politics. Babylon Makes the Rules is not a chant, it's a diagnosis. Rather than shouting down the system, Steel Pulse maps its mechanisms, how policies morph into pressure, how pressure turns into daily compromises, how compromise becomes culture. The title isn't defeatist, it's a warning label. The arrangement is deceptively plush, stacked three-part harmonies, precise guitar chanks that click like clockwork, and a bass line that refuses to grandstand, just constant, insisting. Keys add gentle light, while snare and rim shots meter time like a bureaucrat's stamp. The hook floats, but the verses tighten like a vice. For selectors, it's a mid-set intelligence piece, calm enough to keep the flow, sharp enough to reset the room's attention. For lyricists, it's a masterclass in making critique sing. The track's quiet longevity proves that protest doesn't always need a raised voice. Sometimes it needs a raised eyebrow. If Babylon Makes the Rules sketches the system, the next cut explores the shadows it casts, where the air grows thin and the spirit reaches for shapes it can't quite name. Same album, different corridor. Where many reggae anthems face outward, Unseen Guest looks inward, into the uncanny textures of conscience and presence, into what follows us when we turn off the lights. This is Steel Pulse's ghost story, not about duppies in the yard, but about the inward visitor. Memory, guilt, a moral witness you can't shake. The lyric stays spare, which lets the atmosphere do the heavy lifting. Everything in the mix breathes. Guitars pull back their attack. Keys smear into vapor. Hi-hat flickers like a hallway bulb. The bass walks carefully, leaving long tails that feel like footsteps behind you. Reverb isn't decoration, it's narrative. Room tone as character. Harmonies materialize, then recede, like someone entering and leaving a doorway. Unseen Guest broadened the palette for UK roots, proof that reggae could be cinematic without losing gravity. It's the track DJs reach for when the dance wants to drift, when bodies are moving but minds are elsewhere. We've toured the corridors of Britain's conscience. Now we go back to the source, to drum, heart, and ritual, where reggae's pulse began before the amplifiers. Before reggae, there was Nyabingi, ritual drumming, chants, and reasoning in the hills. Count Ossie and his community carried that current into the studio, fusing liturgical heartbeat with modern arrangement at precisely the moment Jamaica's sound was shifting from rocksteady to roots. Run Come Rally is an invitation and a summons. It calls the faithful to gather, but also calls the uninitiated to listen, and in listening, to understand that the drum is not accompaniment, it is cosmology. The funde keeps the heartbeat, the repeater talks, the bass drum answers, three voices in conversation. Call and response chants bind the circle. Sparse horns or flutes may flare like incense. There's no verse-chorus tyranny here. Form follows ritual, rising, circling, settling. Silence is part of the rhythm, spaces where breath becomes arrangement. This cut anchored a lineage. Without Count Ossie's bridge, later roots might have lost its sacramental core. Producers learned to leave space. Singers learned that a chorus could be a prayer. Run Come Rally is the page where scripture meets studio. From ritual to revelation, having set the ground with drum and chant, we return to band-driven roots where prophecy rides a strict groove. This video is sponsored by the Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside the Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials. Headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae vibe, roots and lovers. Rock made easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock lore, classic rock must-haves, open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. Pop lore, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise cancelling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs, hands-free at home. Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert! If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live. By 78, culture had already stamped apocalypse onto the dance with 2/7's clash. On Harder Than the Rest, Joseph Hill sharpened his prophet's cadence, less omen, more instruction, delivered with a voice that could plead and decree in the same breath.
Yes, I know that it was the voice of the Most High.
Behold is a doorway song, the moment when a warning turns into sight. Not, it will come, but look. Hill doesn't point at spectacle, he points at alignment, Jah order revealing itself under Babylon's noise. Classic one-drop poise. The kick leans back, the snare speaks plainly, the bass carves a descending figure that feels like a curtain parting. Rhythm guitar is clipped and courteous, organ glows like stained glass. When Hill stretches the word, Beho O Old, the harmony tucks under him like hands under a lifted weight. Not as meme famous as 2/7's, but many selectors swear by Behold when they want prophecy without panic. It's the song that says, the signs aren't fireworks, they're patterns. Listen. Prophecy names the pattern, devotion sustains the walk. Our next piece takes us to the liturgy of roots harmony, where prayer wears a minor key and the air smells like rain. The Abyssinians are remembered for Sata Masagana, but their book runs deeper. In 1969, as Jamaica sifted through post-independence anxieties, they wrote hymns that sounded older than the island, psalms set to bass and drum. Chant to King Selassie isn't about persuasion, it's about presence. The lyric offers obeisance, not argument. You are not asked to agree, you are asked to enter.
Get up and fight for your right.
Austere and devotional, 3-part harmonies stacked like stone, a minor key figure that turns on a single note of light, bass as anchor rather than hook. The hand drum and rim clicks feel like steps on temple stone. Guitar trims the edges with ascetic chanks. No ornament is casual, every element serves focus.
Brought us to slavery.
Because Sata became the anthem, this chant lived in the margins, favored by priests of the sound system and crate diggers who know where the incense is kept. It reminds us that roots is not only protest, it is worship. And worship, in reggae, is a political act. To center divinity is to decenter empire. This block traces a complete arc: system, shadow, source, site, sanctuary. Steel Pulse names the architecture, then peers into the room where conscience whispers. Count Aussie pulls us back to the drum circle. Culture shows the veil lifting. The Abyssinians lead us to kneel. From here, the stakes rise. Apocalyptic burrow anthems, teenage firebrands, and split-up legends. Our top 5 where prophecy collides with history and songs become headlines. Early 70s. Kingston. The Studio One ecosystem is at full strength. House bands knocking out immortal rhythms, vocal trios sharpening harmony like steel. The Abyssinians arrive with liturgical intent. Scripture in plain voice. Declaration of Rights frames resistance as a birthright. The lyric doesn't plead with Babylon. It asserts a calm, unwavering claim to life, dignity, and spiritual sovereignty. It's the kind of record that replaces argument with certainty. Militant one-drop drumming sets the spine. Horns state a terse, memorable fanfare. The bass line walks like a measured procession. 3-part harmonies stack with no wasted air. Minor key gravity. Brief glints of light on the turn to the refrain. The phrasing is clipped, deliberate, like sentences etched in stone. This became a quiet cornerstone of Roots, a protest song that never raises its voice. It's the selection you drop to reset a dance from hype to heed, reminding a room that rights aren't granted, they're declared. Having named the right, we move to the reckoning, the eerie feeling that judgment is already in the room. Black Ark, 1977. Lee, Scratch. Perry is sculpting sound like wet clay, spring reverbs breathing, tape delays smearing edges, percussion placed like footprints in wet cement. The Congos, soaring falsetto over tenor and baritone, arrive as a choir inside a dream. Ja Ja Ah Come isn't a threat, it's an announcement. The presence is imminent, felt more than reasoned. The lyric keeps language simple so the sense can lead. Be ready. You hear the arc instantly. Hand drums whisper. Guitar chanks are feather light. A warm organ glows beneath. The bass is patient and physical, like a slow tide. Harmony is the instrument. Falsetto lifting the phrase, lower voices rooting it. Dub textures act like weather. Delays swell and recede, reverbs open and close, as if the room itself is breathing. Tucked among the more famous pieces from Heart of the Congos, this cut is a connoisseur's tell. It taught a generation that production can be theology, that space and echo can carry doctrine as clearly as lyrics. From arc mysticism to street scripture, a single that rode a rhythm into eternity and turned a warning into a way of life. Studio One's real rock rhythm is already a folk standard, familiar enough to feel like pavement. Willie Williams steps onto that road with a steady voice and a single word that says everything: Armageddon. This isn't panic, it's poise in the face of collapse. The lyric inventories the hour, truth versus falsehood, rich versus poor, then fixes the listener's eye on judgment like a lighthouse. Because real rock is so known, tiny choices matter. A slightly drier snare, a vocal that sits forward, a keys figure that sketches mood rather than melody. Williams' delivery is unhurried, syllables clean, as if to deny fear the oxygen of speed. The bass holds the center like a pillar.
Praise Jehovah, and He will guide you.
Sound systems made this a living proverb. Punk audiences met it through later covers and never forgot the cadence. The track proved a truth of Jamaican music. A strong rhythm plus a clear voice can carry prophecy farther than any sermon. If Armageddon Time measures the hour, the next record offers a manual, rules not as laws to fear, but as lines to walk when the world tilts. The heptones sit at the seam where soul phrasing meets roots conscience. In a Kingston industry racing toward heavier themes, they lean into clarity, melody that almost anyone can hum, wisdom that almost anyone can hold. Book of Rules lays out a modest ethic. Tools we all get, paths we all choose. It's philosophy without fuss, gentle, memorable, practically useful. The lyric draws on proverbial wisdom, turning big ideas into manageable lines. The chord progression is warm and circular. Three-part harmonies fit like interlocking hands. Bass moves in patient arcs. Guitar skank is neat, a metronome you can sway to. Small organ swells punctuate lines like commas. Nothing grandstands. The song trusts its craft. It never dominated crossover charts, yet it lasted. Wedding playlists, Sunday radio, selectors' palate cleansers between militant cuts. A cult treasure precisely because it makes goodness sound doable. We end where roots is most dangerous. A single voice, steady and sorrow bright, telling the future without spectacle.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
Fade away. One who's always at
Junior Biles had already shown range, from Lover's Laments to Social Dispatches, when he stepped into the Black Ark to track Fade Away. The mid-70s were brittle in Jamaica. This song sounds like someone walking carefully across that brittleness.
fair, so people beware, or else you fade.
Fade Away is a prophecy sung like a lament. No gloating over the wicked, no swagger. Just a calm verdict. What is crooked cannot last. The power lies in restraint. Biles never shouts because he doesn't need to.
Silver and gold shall surely, surely, surely lose his own soul.
The arrangement is spare and exact. Drums with soft edges, a bass line that moves like a shadow along the wall, guitars that jangle then vanish, keys glowing like a small lamp. Biles' vocal sits close-mic'd, grain intact, every breath part of the rhythm. Subtle echo flickers at line endings, like the title's promise enacting itself in sound.
Hey, beware, and then you fade away.
Selectors treat it like a ritual object. Its drop can hush a noisy yard. Singers study its economy. Writers study its steadiness. Outside reggae circles, it's still criminally underknown, but within the culture it functions as a moral weather report that never expires.
Then you fade away. You gotta fade, gotta fade, gotta fade now.
Across these 5 records, Roots Reggae completes its arc. Rights named, presence announced, hour measured, path offered, verdict delivered. The music never panics. It plants its feet. That might be reggae's most radical claim, that in a world built to rush and distract, truth can move slowly and still win. If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.
Picture a song you've loved your whole life. The bass line is the heartbeat, the snare is the footstep, and somewhere between them a right-hand upstroke keeps time like a prayer bead. That flicker on the offbeat, the skank, is reggae's pulse. But behind the legends we all name are the guitar engineers who designed that pulse. The rocksteady architects at Studio One and Treasure Isle, the roots craftsmen at Channel One, the dub-lab sorcerers who knew exactly when to mute a chord and when to let it ring. Tonight isn't about frontmen. It's about the hands that made the groove breathe. We're saluting 15 unsung guitar heroes, players who turned 3 chords and air into architecture. From Lynn Tate's crystalline rocksteady chop and Hux Brown's clockwork elegance, to Chinna Smith and Tony Chin shaping the 70s with soul syndicate sway, to touring assassins like Al Anderson, Junior Marvin, and Donald Kinsey welding lead fire to roots discipline, to the studio lifers, Mikey Mao Chung, Winston Bo Peep, Bowen, Dalton Brown, whose parts you can hum even if you never knew their names. We'll cross the diaspora too, the UK dub school with John Kpai, the Canadian stadium craft of Carl Harvey, the song-first precision of Wayne Armand, and the fusion intelligence of Stephen Cat Core, a man who can answer a rhythm with a cello or a strat and make both feel inevitable. Ground rules: no repeats, no fluff. For each player you'll get the scene, the signature touch, and one start here cut, so you can hear the technique the second it hits the speaker. Turn the lows up till the kick and bass lock, then listen for the space between them. That's where these guitarists live. And once you hear them, you won't stop hearing them in every classic you love. Let's count down 15-1 and give the architects their flowers.
Yourself from off the ground. Take your time, take it.
Architect of the rocksteady chop. Before reggae, before even rocksteady had a name, there was a right hand keeping perfect, glassy time. That hand belonged to Lynn Tate, Trinidad-born, Jamaica-forged, the man who translated calypso touch and jazz voicings into the percussive upstroke that redefined Jamaica's dance halls in 1966 to 67. Producers called him when ska's brisk clip no longer fit the island's mood.
No, no, no. Take it easy, take it easy, take it.
Tate responded by slowing the pocket, tightening chord shapes into muted triads, and letting the bass write longer sentences. Suddenly the dance changed. Hips closer, steps cleaner, romance in the room.
Take it easy, take your time. No need to hurry.
What makes Tate essential isn't only that first rocksteady hits pass through his guitar, they do, but that he codified a grammar. The skank is tone, not just time. Chord voicings that leave space for horns and voice, and microscopic dynamic control. Featherlight upstrokes that still read on cheap speakers.
Get stuck. Take your time, take it easy.
His parts are architectural. He draws the frame so the bass and drums can hang the walls. Listen for the hollow, bell-like attack of his muted upstrokes, quick anticipations into the end of the beat, little two-note pickups that cue the singer.
Take your time, take your time. No need to worry.
Start here. Hopeton Lewis. Take it easy. For the prototype, the techniques, you don't care. To hear how the guitar makes heartbreak dance. Clockmaker of Treasure Isle and beyond. If Tate set the template, Hux Brown made it bulletproof. As a go-to session ace for Duke Reed and later a first-call player across studios, Hux specialized in metronomic elegance, chord chops dead on the offbeat, then a sudden melodic answer phrase that glides past the bar line. On Alton Ellis's Girl I've Got a Date, the guitar doesn't just keep time. It waltzes with the vocal, teasing melody without crowding the lead. On Bangarang, he tilts from timekeeper to riff engine, proving the skank can pivot into hook with a half turn of the wrist. Hux's greatness lies in restraint. He rarely strums through the downbeat. He lets air do the talking. Engineers loved him because his tone sat in the perfect mid-band pocket, never boomy, never brittle. Singers loved him because his call and response phrases made them sound bigger. Listen for ghosted 16th note brush before the main upstroke, 2 or 3 note gliss into a chorus, and the way his lines leave lanes for horns and voice. Start here, Alton Ellis, Girl I've Got a Date, Stranger Cole and Lester Sterling, Bangarang, The Jamaicans, Ba Ba Boom. The thread running through ska roots. You can draw a straight line through Jamaican guitar history with Dwight Pinkney as the thread, from Studio One house groups, the Sharks, through late 60s bands, into the 70s roots era, Zap Pow, then sessions galore. Pinkney's gift is taste, an ear for exactly how much information a song needs. With the Sharks behind early Wailers' sides, he keeps the skank dry and narrow, letting Marley's voice and Family Man's bass dominate the frame. With Zap Pow, you hear him broaden the palette, clipped wah, double stops, little country blues curls that lift a chorus without stealing spotlight. Pinkney is also a teacher. Many modern Jamaican guitarists learn the mechanics of the chop, the economy of fills, and how to read a rhythm from studying his parts. His lines often double the keyboard bubble in rhythmically offset ways, a subtle glue that makes the whole rhythm section feel like one organism. Listen for economical slides into chord tones, double stop thirds answering the vocal, and subtle swing in his upstroke that softens quantized feels. Start here, The Wailers, Put It On, 65 cut for Studio One. To hear the framework, Zap Pow. This is reggae music to hear his broader color sense.
Know my enemies and I know my friends.
Melody Inside the Machine. Say Session God in Kingston and Someone Will Answer Chinna. As a pillar of Soul Syndicate, a Wailers sideman, and a first call guitarist for producers from Bunny Lee to Yabby U, Earl Chinna Smith logged hundreds of classic sessions, and on each he finds song inside structure.
Bless, no one curse.
Chinna's rhythm hand is granite, perfect offbeat discipline, but he's famous for slipping melodic filigree between vocal lines. A 3-note answer, a descending pentatonic sigh, a mid-range motif that becomes the take's quiet hook.
Ooh, Jah bless. No.
Chinna understands register politics. He'll voice chords high so the bass and organ breathe. He'll drop to bar shapes when the chorus needs weight. He'll detune attitude, not pitch, to make the rhythm chew a little harder. In dub, where the mix mutes and unmutes like weather, Chinna's lines become wayfinding beacons. You hear a 4-note curl and know exactly where you are.
Ooh, Jah bless.
Listen for little hammer-ons that land exactly on the and chord tones plucked arpeggio style inside a skank, and fills that resolve into the next bar's upstroke, never stepping on the one.
Far I bless. No flesh curse.
Start here, Soul Syndicate rhythm cuts from the mid-70s. Yabby U productions for the spiritual minor key glow, Wailers live rehearsals where his answer phrases paint the edges.
Town can't you see? No money, ain't funny. Money for the rich, but no money.
The flyers, feel, and the movable pocket. When Jamaican drums shifted from classic one-drop to the mid-70s flying cymbals / flyers style, the guitar had to evolve too. Tony Chin, Chinna's fellow Soul Syndicate alum, engineered a rhythm guitar approach that danced with those open hi-hats, tighter chord voicings, syncopated double upstrokes, and little anticipations that made the groove skip forward without rushing.
You have for me. No money, ain't funny. If you think it's
On countless Bunny Lee productions, you can hear Chin's right hand stitching hi-hat shimmer to bass muscle. Chin is also a master of tone placement. He dials the attack, so the first transient is soft, the sustain short, and the decay fast. That lets drums own the front edge of the beat, while the guitar writes shape over top.
Kind of way.
If you've ever felt a mid-70s hit where the groove seems to levitate, chances are Tony Chin's hand is in the air. Listen for the double tap upstroke on the end of 2 and 4, chord slides that start 1/16 early to tease the ear, and a near percussive choke on bar endings so the drop hits clean.
No money, and funny, yeah. Money for the rich, but no money for you.
Start here, Bunny Lee's mid-70s flying cymbals singles, Johnny Clark stepper sides to hear Chin's glide, early soul syndicate band cuts for the blueprint. Arranger's Mind, Assassin's Touch, slide the fader up on late, 70s Kingston, and you keep running into Mikey Mao Chung, Now Generation, Skin, Flesh, and Bones, The In Crowd. Then Peter Tosh's Word, Sound and Power. He's the guitarist you call when a production needs shape as much as chops. Mao's parts sound simple until you isolate them. Mini arpeggios that outline the chord change without crowding the vocal, muted pickup notes that cue drum fills, and a wah pedal vocabulary that's more punctuation than effect. With Tosh, Mao often works in 2 layers, a bone-dry skank in the mid-range and a second higher, bell-like part that arrives only on choruses to lift the roof. On Black Uhu adjacent sessions, he trims the sustain so the guitar behaves almost like additional hi-hat, gluing syndromes and hand percussion. He was equally lethal on keys. That multi-instrument fluency shows up in how he leaves frequency lanes open. Guitar never smearing into organ never stepping on bass. Why he's unsung. He was a producer's best friend, not a brand. The credits scatter across labels and artists, and the most elegant parts hide in plain sight. Start here, Peter Tosh, Mystic Man, Era Live, or Studio Cuts. Listen to how Mao's second position chords make the rhythm breathe. Listen for wah set low like a tone filter, micro slides into chord tones, and chorus-only octave lines that feel like the room grew a size. Rock lead, Reggae Discipline. When Al Anderson plugged into natty Dread-era Wailers, he carried a rock guitar voice that never bulldozed the rhythm. His secret was time. He aims the attack just behind the snare so a piercing, singing tone sits inside the pocket. On stage mid-70s, his vibrato and sustained bends gave Marley's setlist a stadium horizon without breaking the one-drop spell. Anderson's tone is very un-reggae on paper. Thicker mids, more sustain, but he trims flourish and speaks in song sentences. 4-bar ideas with beginnings, middles, ends. He'll outline the hook rather than fight it, answering the vocal like a second singer. On rhythm duties, he favors short, dry upstrokes that leave air for Aston, Family Man Barrett. When the solo comes, he widens the image and paints the melody in long strokes. Why he's unsung. People credit the Wailers as a single organism. Individual fingerprints, especially on lead, get absorbed by the legend. Start here, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Crazy Bald Head, hear the snarling motifs, and live. 75, era recordings for his sing-through sustain. Listen for behind the beat bends, unison with vocal phrases on refrains, and solos that exit exactly on the bar so the drop lands clean. Narrative lead lines, arranger at the core. Joining the Wailers for Exodus, 1977, Junior Marvin brought a melodic imagination that could extend a chorus or reframe a verse. His leads rarely show off. They tell little narrative arcs that travel through a song's harmonic map and return you to the hook with more light on it. He shifts tones scene to scene. Glassy single coils for verses, warmer neck pickup bloom for bridges, a clipped comping style in the verses that keeps the offbeat taut without turning mechanical. Crucially, Junior thinks like an arranger. He'll place a guitar counter melody where a horn section might sit, or tuck double stops between organ and piano to thicken the mid-range. On the road, his call-in response with vocals made big rooms feel conversational. Post Marley, you hear how his sense of song stewardship, not just playing, helped hold the sound together. Why he's unsung. Joining a band at its commercial peak can blur authorship. Listeners hear Wailers first, Junior second. Start Here, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Exodus album cuts. Focus on how the guitar sets up the title track's vocal entries and how jamming gets its buoyancy. Listen for double stop hooks that shadow the chorus, selective use of chorus/phase to widen the stereo image, and a comping hand that never crowds the skank. Blues fire in a militant frame. With Peter Tosh's word, sound, and power, Donald Kinsey poured Southside Chicago blues grammar into militant roots scaffolding. That means vocal-like bends and gutsy vibrato. Yes, but on a leash. Phrases trimmed to bar length, call-in response with horns, and endings that land square on the one so Tosh's message can keep marching. Kinsey's tone is warm, slightly overdriven, and unfussy. No pedalboard gymnastics, just amp-in fingers articulation that cuts through without harshness. He'll crack the bar open with a short pickup lick, then fall back into pocket so the rhythm carries the chant. Live, he gave the set its cathartic vents, bursts of emotion that never turned the music into guitar theater.
If you don't change it right now.
Why he's unsung. Word of mouth and tour tapes carried the legend. Discographies fragment across live recordings, and his later work gets filed under blues more than reggae, obscuring the Tosh years for casual listeners. Start Here, Peter Tosh, Equal Rights/Legalize It. Era live recordings. Hear how Kinsey's vocal-like phrases sharpen the rhetoric. Listen for short, singing turnarounds into choruses, bends that resolve to chord tones, not show notes, and the way he mirrors Tosh's phrasing cadence.
And what we have achieved, poverty, injustice, brutality.
Dub's stealth lead, Roots Steel Spine. Winston Bo Peep, Bowen is the kind of guitarist Dub makes legendary. You might not know the name, but you know the shadows he throws. As a stalwart with the Roots radix, aggravators, and upsetters circles, Bo Peep's parts are built for the mix. Lines that survive mutes and delays, sturdy mid-range figures the engineer can fling across space with a tap of a send.
Insanity.
On Roots and early dancehall sides, his rhythm hand is granite accurate, damp triads that click like clockwork, while his lead voice is intentionally dry, so tape echoes have clean edges to duplicate. In Scientist's classic sessions, the guitar might disappear for a bar, then return as a ghost. One four-note motif repeating into infinity while the bass and drums march.
And here's is a long time, you know, and what we have achieved.
That requires a player who can reduce ego to function without losing personality. Why he's unsung. Dub credits can be cryptic, rhythm section heroes become the band, and Bo Peep's best work is designed to be felt as architecture more than spotlight.
2000 years is a long time, you know, and what we have.
Start Here. Scientist rids the world of the evil curse of the vampires. Trace the recurring guitar figure through the mutes. Early Roots Radix rhythm tracks to feel his time. Listen for bone-dry tone pre-delay, short two-string riffs placed where an engineer can grab them, and skank patterns that never flinch under heavy bass pressure. Musical director in the pocket. If you've ever felt a Freddie McGregor tune slide into place like a perfectly fitted door, you've heard Dalton Brown doing quiet architecture. As guitarist, arranger, and longtime musical director in the Big Ship camp, Brown writes parts that behave. They keep singers centered, bass lines legible, and drums breathing.
Twinkle stars in the night, the wind and the earth.
His rhythm hand is unerringly calm, short, even upstrokes that tuck tight into the hi-hat. Chord voicings trimmed to the mids so the bass can sing. When he steps forward, it's with melodic economy. 2 bars that complete a sentence, then back to work.
For you and me, it took someone as sweet as
What separates Dalton is bandcraft. Live, he'll revoice the skank between verses, add a single double stop to lift a hook, or lay out to make a drop land. In studio, he leaves frequency lanes open, guitar never smearing into keys, so the mix stays modern even on vintage rhythms.
is for you, and my purpose in life is
It's leadership by subtraction, knowing when not to play. Listen for clipped triads that sit just behind the snare, little answer phrases after the vocal breath, chorus onset voicings that fatten the mid-range without raising volume.
and my purpose in life is for you. Create
Start here, Freddie McGregor, Big Ship, push come to shove, then a live Big Ship set to hear how Dalton's decisions steer the whole vessel. Stadium poise, soul phrasing. For decades with Toots and the Maytals, Carl Harvey has had the job no guitarist takes lightly. Make massive rooms feel intimate without stepping on a frontman who eats spotlight for breakfast. Harvey's solution is soul-informed clarity. He bends in vocal curves, phrases that answer Toots like a second singer, then snaps back to a dry, precise skank so the rhythm section doesn't lose its stride. His tone is deceptively simple, just enough grit to be felt at the back of the field, not so much that it masks the drummer's conversation with the bass. Harvey's arranging sense shows up everywhere. In choruses, he'll add an octave figure or a unison line with horns so the room hears lift without a fader move. On bridges, he'll switch to arpeggio comping, letting chords ring into each other so the band can pull energy without losing pulse. It's showmanship built on discipline, stadium ready, song first. Listen for 1 or 2 note hooks that repeat under a chorus, comping that thins out when the organ swells, and behind the beat entrances that make big grooves feel relaxed. Start here. Toots and the Maytals live in the 80s to 2000s. Watch how Harvey's lines guide crowd dynamics without turning the set into guitar theater. Dub minimalism, lover's touch. In British reggae, the guitar chair often borrows from soul, rock, and jazz, but few players balance those vocabularies like John Kpai. With Matumbai, Lovers Rock Sessions, and Linton Kwesi Johnson's band under Dennis Bovell, Kpai developed a zen rhythm, skanks that clock the bar while leaving a halo of sustain just long enough for the dub to catch. Then, when the story needs tenderness, he shifts into lovers' voicings, soft, honeyed double stops and chord inversions that make a chorus feel like a hand on your shoulder. Kai's genius is negative space. In LKJ's hard, repertorial poems, his guitar becomes the humane aside, small arpeggios, a half-measure descent, a mid-range sigh that warms the steel. On Lover's sides, the same restraint turns into slow bloom melody. He knows exactly when to let the echo unit take over, feeding it clean-edged notes the engineer can fling across the stereo field. Listen for mid-neck triads trimmed so bass and kicks speak, call-in response with the poet's cadence, and a faint vibrato that reads even on low-watt PAs. Start here, Linton Kwesi Johnson with the Dennis Bovell Dub Band, live or studio, to hear dub discipline. Then a Matumbai/Lovers rock session for his Sugar with Spine tone. Songcraft as guitar method. With Chalice and later in Jimmy Cliff's touring/recording orbit, Wayne Armand made a career out of doing the right thing for the song. No more, no less.
But remember Jonah in the belly of the whale and Daniel in the lion's den.
He treats rhythm like typography. Each chord shape carries meaning. Tight, muted chops for verses, wider, bell-tone voicings and choruses, arpeggiated pickups to cue a bridge. When he takes a lead, it's melodic handwriting, not calligraphy, phrases you can hum an hour later. Armand's recordings from the 80s reveal how reggae adapted to cleaner studios and brighter mixes without losing pocket. He thins out the attack, so the hi-hat still owns the front edge, uses double stops to thicken refrains instead of pure volume, and writes fills that resolve into the next upstroke, so the groove never stutters.
The devil and the deep blue water. I know, say that when you come on my yard.
In a band context, he's also a blend artist, locking to keys one chorus, then shadowing the bass motif the next, so the arrangement feels alive without crowding the vocal. Listen for micro slides into chord tones on bar 1, chorus width added by simple octave lines, and fills that end exactly where the skank resumes.
It's alright. It's okay.
Start here, Chalice, I Still Love You era and tour footage. Then a Jimmy Cliff live set to hear Wayne's parts glue an international band together.
This video is sponsored by the Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside the Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials. Headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae vibe, roots and lovers. Rock made easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock lore, classic rock must-haves, open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. Pop lore, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise canceling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs, hands-free at home. Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert! If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live.
Fusion Mind, Reggae Heart. As co-founder of Third World, Stephen Catt core expanded reggae's guitar vocabulary without loosening its roots. He's a melodist first, lead lines that arc like choruses, and an arranger who treats guitar as one color in a larger palette that includes cello, keys, and vocal harmony. In studio, he'll place bell-clear single coils where they paint the harmony instead of puncturing it. Live, he can switch from lyrical lead to rhythm anchor in a blink, or bow a cello line that deepens the song's emotional weather. Cat's signature is integration. On a tune like 96 Degrees in the Shade, his phrasing leans into the lyric, sometimes shadowing the melody a third above, other times answering with a short blues inflection that reads Jamaican, not imported. In the more fusion-leaning moments, he never abandons the one-drop compass. Odd chords and extended voicing still sit exactly where Family Man or a live bassist expects them. That's why Third World could stand on rock, soul, or jazz festival stages and sound at home. Listen for cello/guitar dialogues and intros and codas, chorus lift via carefully voiced double stops, lead phrases that land on chord tones the moment the vocal returns. Start here. Third World, 96 Degrees in the Shade, live for voicings and dynamics. Then deeper album cuts to hear how Cat's arranging mind keeps the band's identity cohesive across eras. If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.
Reggae is Jamaica's gift to the world, but the wave didn't stop at the shoreline. From Hawaii harmonies to California dub labs to East Coast future roots, American artists built their own chapter, respecting the foundation, adding a new accent. Tonight we count down 10 essential American reggae artists, one must-hear track each, what to listen for in the bass and drums, and how they carried the message without losing the groove. If your playlist ends at Bob, Peter, and Bunny, you're missing half the map. These bands turned US venues into sound systems and pushed the music onto festival main stages. Cali Roots anthems, Hawaii four-part harmonies, New York crossover fireworks, and dubwise studio scientists, tribal seeds to soja, with heavy stops in between. This is hip-hop lore. Subscribe, hit the bell, and let's drop the needle on top 10 American reggae artists. Watch to the end and drop your pick, pulling one essential track. I'll pin the best for part 2. Tribal seeds sound like they built their catalog around a single promise. Keep the one steady. Keep the message clear. The Jacobo Brothers arrangements are heavy without hurry. Sub-bass you feel before you hear. Skank guitar that sits where it should, never overplaying the offbeat. And keys that favor the meditative bubble more than spotlight chords. The drums often live in a one-drop feel that leaves the snare's backbeat for strategic emphasis. When the band switches into a stepper's push, it feels like a decision, not a reflex. Downbeat is a study in restraint. The bass sits low and centered, anchoring the vocals' long lines while the keys sketch atmosphere in short, heartbeat figures. Listen to the dub language in the mix. Delay throws on snare tails. Quick mutes on the guitar upstrokes, echo trails that step forward after a lyric lands, small moves that make the track breathe like a live engineer riding faders. The Garden widens the frame with brighter chords and a more lilting bass figure, but the philosophy stays put. Serenity with weight. Lyrically, the band leans conscious without slogans. The hook invites a crowd in without diluting meaning. That balance, festival ready, dub disciplined, explains why their grooves translate equally well to headphones and 100-foot PA systems.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. But check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
Slightly Stupid came up on the Southern California coastline, where reggae rubs shoulders with punk, ska, soul, and jam band improvisation. Their trick is making blends sound like identity, not compromise. Closer to the Sun places a relaxed, bouncy bass line under a sweet, half-whispered vocal. The drums keep a laid-back pocket with just enough ghost note chatter to keep the verses buoyant. Guitars favor unforced skank on the 2 and 4, then peel off into melodic figures that feel more R&B than rock. The arrangement is anti-grandstanding. Verses are conversational, choruses bloom by opening space rather than piling on parts, and the bridge bends toward a pocket you could stretch on stage for minutes if the crowd is with you. That's the live culture piece. Stupid learned to read audiences like DJs, expanding or contracting sections without breaking the song's spine. On record, the secret is dynamics, playing softer to make the groove feel bigger, letting bass and kick agree on length so the low end thumps without smearing. If Tribal Seeds project calm through discipline, Slightly Stupid projects it through ease, sunlit, unhurried, and perfectly content to let a simple refrain do the heavy lifting.
I'm trying to take you out, the ticking of her heart is the only sound she's.
Iration is where island warmth meets California studio polish. The guitars are glass clean, chorused upstrokes that leave air around the transient, while the bass feels like a padded wall, thick even, and carefully side-chained to the kick so the groove hits without flab. Vocals usually sit just ahead of the beat, a pop sensibility that keeps hooks sticky even when the rhythm section behaves like classic roots.
Living for the moment. She's a
Time Bomb is a masterclass in arrangement clarity. The verse is a skeleton, kick, snare, skank, bubble, and a bass figure so centered that the vocal can float without losing gravity.
I'm over the crowd. She's living for the moment.
Pre-chorus adds harmonic lift with passing chords and stacked backing vocals. The chorus lands not through volume, but density control. A second guitar doubling the skank in a higher register, synth pad soft under the melody, and the bass taking slightly longer note lengths so every chord feels taller.
You're trying to cut her wires, but you're way too late. She's a time bomb.
Production is polished but not sterile. Tiny delays, subtle reverbs, and tasteful stereo width give the track radio shine, while the one-drop logic stays intact. It's feel-good reggae that still knocks on a big rig, proof that popcraft and dub physics can be friends.
Love you, girl. Kissing her make you my world.
The green signature is voice, not just lead voice, but four-part harmony that moves like one instrument. From Honolulu's scene, they pull lovers' rock sweetness through sturdy live band roots arrangements. Drum and bass keep a round, rolling pocket. Guitars skank politely in the mid-range. Keys split duty between bubble and organ swells. Horns, when present, glue the chorus to the roofline.
Love you, girl. Kissing her make you my world.
Over it, the vocals braid and blend, resolving tensions in ways that make the harmony itself feel like percussion. Love I is built for shoulders-to-shoulders rooms. The verse leaves space for the singer's phrasing and draws you inward with tight harmony tags at the ends of lines. Pre-chorus leans on a suspension and release pattern. Listen to how the bass hints at the coming root a half beat early, while the vocals hold a color tone over the bar line.
You know I will. I'ma show you, girl, how I.
When the chorus hits, the chord is the same, but the weight shifts. Harmonies open until the song feels sunlit. The Green Honor classic rhythms without cosplay. Their arrangements sound like now because the emotion is modern, even when the building blocks are as old as Studio One. Where much American reggae seeks serenity, King Without a Crown, live, thrives on voltage. Rap cadence verses, devotional refrains, and a band that treats dynamics as a storytelling tool. The rhythm section starts lean, a kick on one feel with crisp cross stick and a bass line that walks more than it drones. Guitar skank is punctual, keys sketch dub echoes that blossom after phrases, leaving room for the vocal to testify.
Down on one knee, I fight with all my might and get these demons to flee. Hashem's rains, fire blaze, burn bright.
Then the song toggles gears, double-time hi-hat chatter, drum fills that lift like a wave, rhythmic beatbox textures appearing and vanishing as another instrument in the dub.
You, yes, I'm so hungry. You're like water for my soul when it gets thirsty. Without you, there's no me.
The live mix is the message. You can hear the crowd become part of the arrangement. Choruses shouted back, dropouts engineered to let silence act like a drum. The lyric's spiritual urgency finds its corollary in arrangement choices. Every dynamic peak feels earned because the valleys are generous.
You're all that I have and you're all that I need. Each and every day I pray to get to know you. Please wanna be close.
Matisyahu's phrasing, more hip-hop than crooner, cuts through the band's bloom without clipping the groove. When he stretches a syllable across a bar lean, the bass holds its ground so the melody can reach. This is crossover in the healthiest sense, not a dilution, but a widening, showing how reggae's pulse can carry testimony, rap timing, and rock energy in a single frame. This video is sponsored by the Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside the Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials, headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae vibe, roots and lovers. Rock made easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock lore, classic rock must-haves, open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. Pop lore, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise canceling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs. Hands-free at home? Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert. If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live.
And a stout extra size, bright-eyed girl next to me is the bride.
Future Roots wasn't just a slogan, it was a production ethic. John Brown's body took classic one-drop logic and re-engineered the chassis. Horn lines voiced like a small orchestra, baritone sax anchoring the mid-range while trumpet and tenor speak in counterpoint. Guitars that skank less like a metronome and more like punctuation. Keys that trade the standard bubble for chord colors and tapey swells. And a rhythm section that treats the kick as narrative, not just pulse. On Step Inside, the mix is the arrangement. The horns don't merely double the melody, they frame it, answering vocal phrases the way doo-wop groups once did, only here with trombone fall-offs and tight 3-part voicings. Listen for the dub as architecture choices. A snare hit sent into a quarter-note delay to create a call and response with the room. A guitar upstroke momentarily muted to open a window for a horn stab. A single vocal word dropped into echo so the lyric keeps walking after the singer stops. The bass's job is surgical, long notes that tie sections together, then short percussive figures to flip a verse into a pre-chorus without needing more volume. Lyrically, JBB widened the lane, urban imagism and social observation alongside spiritual language that avoids platitude. That expansion feeds the musical one. bridges that resolve into horn codas instead of guitar solos, breakdowns where tape hiss and spring reverb become instruments. The road chops matter too. This material was built to scale from club systems to festival arrays. When the FOH engineer rides the Oak Sends like faders on a mixing board in Kingston, the songs breathe, proof that Future Roots is as much about live ergonomics as studio cleverness. Scott Woodruff's studio is less room than ecosystem. Drum programming locked to human time imperfections. Guitars tracked with the kind of cleanliness that makes every offbeat read as a page turn. Sub-bass mixed to feel like a floor you can stand on. World on Fire is the thesis. Hypnotic ostinatos, vocal hooks that sit exactly in the pocket, and a stereo image so panoramic you can point to the space each instrument occupies. What makes it modern isn't just sheen, it's the way microdynamics do the heavy lifting. The bass lengthens its note tails by a fraction in the chorus, so the harmony feels taller without adding parts. The drums are disciplined in the verse. Kick feathers the one, snare ghosts fill the negative space, and then shift into a stepper's carriage in the lift, nudging the tempo of your attention, even though the BPM hasn't moved. Keys bubble with the restraint of a metronome, but every eighth bar, a delay throw widens the room and resets your ears. Stick Figure's melodic writing knows where the voice sits best. Limited range, syllables that lock to the hi-hat grid, cadences that land with the kick so even soft singing feels substantive. The band on stage extends the record's ergonomics outward, percussion coloring the back half of bars, guitar partials bright enough to cut on outdoor stages, and arrangements designed to let the crowd become the pad under a chorus. It's US roots at its most dialed in, dub physics, popcraft, and groove confidence coexisting without tug of war. Groundation approach roots like jazz anthropologists who fell in love with dub. The drums sit inside the one drop, but the fills think in phrases. The bass is a mantra, but it's voiced like a horn, slides into chord tones, ghosted pickups, rests that mean something. Keys do double duty, bubble for time, organ for testimony. Around that spine, guitars comp like a rhythm section 1 minute and quote like soloists the next. The band can extend a vamp for 4 minutes without monotony because counterpoint never switches off. Babylon Rule Dem shows the method. Odd bar phrasing sneaks into intros and turnarounds. Horn lines arrive not as frosting, but as arguments, sometimes harmonizing, sometimes debating the vocal line. The dub is vintage in color, spring reverb, tape delay, but modern in application. Instruments step forward and back like actors in a play, with mutes and sends time to the lyric's emotional line. Improvisation appears, then disappears without calling attention to itself. You realize a guitar has been soloing only when it hands the melody back and nothing has broken. Groundation's accomplishment is a balance problem solved. How to improvise without diluting the one drop, and how to honor vintage palette without cosplay. The result is a living music, elastic enough to stretch on stage, disciplined enough to snap back to the chorus. Little wonder they read as a landmark. They demonstrate that American reggae can be scholar and dancer, arranger and seer in the same breath.
I'm caught up in the thing that you know I like. You check it one time, baby, over.
Revolution arrived with a simple proposition. Make choruses large without making mixes loud. Safe and Sound is a masterclass in that math. Rhythm guitar is crisp and slightly behind the beat. I La Vista muscle memory. So the groove leans back even while the drums punch forward.
I'm caught up in the thing that you know I like. You check it one time.
Revolution arrived with a simple proposition. Make choruses large without making mixes loud. Safe and Sound is a masterclass in that math. Rhythm guitar is crisp and slightly behind the beat. I La Vista muscle memory. So the groove leans back even while the drums punch forward.
setting free. Well, I'm all about a sweet sounding loving spree. Hey, come on now and listen.
Horns are buoyant, voiced in thirds and sixths, with unison doubles for emphasis. They don't crowd the vocal, they lift it, often entering on the "and" to turn backbeats into trampolines.
We could make a grand escape. We can roll high, baby, break. Well, all about.
The bass operates like an urban planner. It decides where traffic flows. In the verses, it's conservative, roots and fifths, short note lengths, leaving space for lyric and snare. In the pre-chorus, it adds anticipations, hinting at the chorus root a half beat early, so your ear already wants what's coming.
Well, we could make a grand escape. We can roll high by the way, yeah, yeah, yeah.
When the hook hits, the part lengthens, the low end blooms, making the harmony feel three-dimensional without adding a single new instrument. Meanwhile, the drums switch from side stick nuance to a fuller snare crack. It reads as excitement, not volume.
Free. Well, I'm all about a sweet sounding loving spree. Hey, come on now and listen.
Revolution's other edge is consistency. The road taught them restraint, arrangements built to translate from dorm rooms to amphitheaters, set lists that respect pacing, and a singer whose lines are shaped for breath as much as rhyme.
Baby, that's all I've got.
They helped define the 2000s, 2010s wave by institutionalizing a feeling. Clean, positive, crowd-sized, but never cloying. Safe and sound is exactly that promise. Security as groove, optimism you can dance to.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
Sister, you and me are still the only.
Soja write in the language of scale, big harmonies, patient verses, and arrangements that discover height by discovering space. You and Me is their quietly audacious move, a duet built like a roots hymn, where the bass keeps its counsel low and the drums lay abed the voice can float above.
Even when you, so I started, and you
The guitar skank is modest, almost metronomic. The keys paint soft halos around sustained notes. When the chorus arrives, the lift comes from voices, layered thirds and fifths, rather than a stack of new parts. The production is modern in the best way. Compression used to shape sustain, not flatten dynamics. Reverbs tuned dark, so vocals read intimate even in a wide image. Sub-content kept disciplined, so the song still translates on small speakers.
I want it knowing that you're walking away. I started.
Lyrically, Soja's hallmark is earnest clarity. Love songs and social songs written in declarative sentences, where the point is to be understood, not admired. That translates to the bass, too. Long tones as argument, little climbing pickups only where emotion demands them, never because a bar feels empty.
Well, since I'm time girl, and I'm still.
Their larger arc, DC Virginia beginnings to world stages, matters because it explains the choices. Choruses designed to be sung by people who just met. Grooves that give the back row the same confidence as the barricade.
Time girl, and I'm still with you, even when
You and Me is anthemic without puffing itself up. It trusts that if the message is honest and the pocket is right, the room will do the rest. That's the lesson at the summit of American reggae's ladder. Build community in the mix, and the song becomes a place people return to.
you, even when you're gone. When this
If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.
One nigga, the less, the better, the sure. Dance, jump like skinhead.
What if reggae's heartbeat didn't stop at Kingston's shoreline? Tonight we follow the offbeat as it slips through customs and changes its accent. Brixton bass lines rumbling under street lamps, Brasilia sunlight warming a one drop, Copenhagen turning the groove into pure breeze, and a South African chorus turning pain into power. These aren't copycats, they're parallel traditions, local histories poured into the same rhythm, recorded in tiny studios and midnight radio rooms, pressed on small labels that somehow reach the world. We'll drop the needle on 15 tracks that prove reggae is a language anyone can speak if they respect the grammar. Lovers rock tenderness rewriting a folk classic. Punk learning to walk with dread. A synth-lit protest from a Caribbean immigrant wiring Brixton to MTV. And a Brazilian hook that made freedom feel like daylight. Behind every chorus you know is a quieter story. Of producers who left air in the mix so voices could breathe. Of bass players who led from the shadows. Of communities that heard themselves and stood a little taller. If reggae ever lifted you, this is your passport. Cue the turntable, dim the lights, and listen for how the same backbeat carries different lives. This is 15 non-Jamaican reggae songs. One rhythm, many homelands. Wild World, 1988, UK. It begins with a decision that feels obvious in hindsight, but risky at the time. Take Cat Stevens's folk standard and move it to the offbeat. In late 80s London, Maxi Priest and producer Sly Dunbar, of Sly and Robbie, understand that lovers rock isn't just a tempo, it's a posture, tender, conversational, close-mic'd. The band keeps the skank clean and glassy, the kick soft enough to feel like a heartbeat rather than a command. Where Stevens' version feels like a gentle farewell, Priest's becomes a slow dance, buoyed by stacked harmonies and a bass line that never crowds the vocal. Part of the alchemy is the engineering. High-shelf sparkle on the guitars, a restrained plate reverb that lifts the chorus without washing it out, and plenty of air left around Priest's phrasing so you hear the smile in the vowels. On UK radio, it lands like a familiar story told with new weather. In the Caribbean diaspora, it slides into weekend soundtracks with the trust that only lovers rock can earn. And on American stations, still getting used to reggae outside novelty slots, it works because it never raises its voice. A folk song learns to sway.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
The most reggae moment on a punk landmark isn't a costume change, it's autobiography. Paul Simonon, born and raised in Brixton, steps to the mic for the first time on a Clash record and brings with him the neighborhood's post-Windrush soundscape. Dub spilling from record shops, police vans idling at the curb, bass you feel in brickwork. The band drops the tempo to a rock-steady strut. Topper Hedden opens the groove so space becomes an instrument. The guitars chop in the margins rather than drive. Listen to how the bass leads. A minor key figure that doesn't decorate so much as predict trouble. Simonon's vocal is almost blank-faced on purpose. The menace is in the lack of theater. Producer Guy Stevens keeps the mix raw, resisting the urge to rock it up, and the lyric, half prophecy, half neighborhood parable, lands just a year before Brixton will actually explode. Reggae here isn't exotic flavor, it's the rhythm of a district that taught a punk band what pressure sounds like.
We got a message for you.
Two Danes, Tim Stahl and John Goldberg, reduce reggae to its most weightless elements and accidentally bottle European summer. The drums are a metronome with manners. The bass is a slow bicycle ride. Soft synths and lightly chorused guitar trace a horizon line you can practically see. There's no attempt at Kingston grit, no heavy one-drop sermon, and that's why it works. The duo write a postcard, not a thesis.
Let the good vibes get a lot strong.
What seems simple is quietly engineered. The kick is padded and round, so nothing ever thumps. The snare sits back in the stereo field, leaving the vocal front and smiling. The hook is a two-note seesaw that children can sing on first listen. For purists, it's too breezy. For radio programmers from Hamburg to the Med, it's perfect. The song becomes a continental shorthand for ease, proof that reggae's architecture can support different climates without collapsing.
So hard like a soldier, can't afford a thing on TV.
In Blue Wave Studio, Barbados, and earlier in London, Eddie Grant is building his own hybrid lab. Guitar chanks learned from Mento and Calypso, synth bass from the New Machines, and a lyric that reads like a dispatch from Brixton after 1981's unrest. The genius is how the protest rides a dance engine.
Oh, we gonna rock down to electric.
The bass is synth thick and square wave urgent. The drum pattern splits the difference between reggae's one-drop logic and new wave's stiff precision. And Grant's voice sits in the pocket with the authority of a street reporter, not a preacher. What listeners often miss is Grant's self-sufficiency. Writing, arranging, playing multiple parts, producing.
Electric Avenue. And then we'll take it higher. Hey,
That autonomy lets the track balance rage and release without committee compromise. The chorus is a crowd chant. The verses are neon-flecked street scenes. Across the Atlantic, it becomes a staple on black radio and MTV alike. One of the first times a Caribbean artist narrates British urban tension to a global beat.
Não quero jogo fora. Você pode entender.
Brasilia, far from beaches and cliches, births a reggae that sounds like daylight. Natiruts aren't imitating Kingston. They're folding reggae's cadence into Brazilian phrasing, letting Portuguese vowels glide across the skank like a kite. The acoustic guitar is bright, almost nylon string in its delicacy. Percussion sprinkles sand where a heavier drum kit might stomp. The bass moves melodically, singing as much as anchoring.
Não precisa me dizer que eu não quero.
The chorus, freedom inside your head, is both slogan and sigh, a late 90s affirmation that dodges politics by aiming at interior weather. Brazilian radio takes to it immediately. Festival crowds turn it into a communal exhale. Behind the mix is a distinctly Brazilian touch, letting the mid-range breathe so voices sit forward and the groove feels like a plaza rather than a club.
Fora, você pode entender. Desigual.
For countless listeners across Latin America, this is the on-ramp to reggae, proof that the rhythm can carry Portuguese warmth without losing its heartbeat.
To know you, please wanna be close to you. Yes, I'm so hungry. You're like water for my soul when it gets.
It doesn't break on a glossy studio single. It breaks on stage. Sweat, feedback, and a crowd who realize halfway through that the hook they're shouting is bigger than the room.
Praise fire blaze, burn bright in I believe. Out of darkness comes light, twilight unto the heights, crown heights.
In 2005, the version that turns heads is Live at Stubbs from Austin, a Hasidic MC singer beatboxing between verses, a power trio, Roots Tonic, Aaron Dugan on guitar, Josh Werner on bass, Jonah David on drums, switching gears from one-drop swing to double-time surges like a live hip-hop band raised on Burning Spear and Bad Brains. The song's architecture is classic reggae, offbeat guitar, bass as lead instrument, but the cadence is something new. Rapid internal rhymes and melismatic lifts that land on a stadium-sized refrain. Behind the scenes, the arrangement's power comes from dynamics. Dugan's guitar doesn't just chop, he arpeggiates against the skank to create choral shimmer before dropping into rock-edged riffs for the lift. Werner's bass sings more than it thumps, counter melodies that carry the spiritual ache in the lyric.
Now I fight with all of my heart and all of my soul and all of my might. Said, what's this feeling? My love will rip a hole in the ceiling. Give it my...
Jonah David leaves air in the verse, ghosted rim shots, splashed hats, then tightens into a march at the chorus so the whole crowd can move as one. On US radio, it's the rare live cut that sounds bigger than the studio. Evidence that crossover can happen when the groove is undeniable and the message reaches across scenes. Searching, not preaching.
Default, then that's bound to overflow. If you're drowning in the waters and you can't stay afloat, ask a shot.
Start here. Clip 058 121 toward 18. Live chorus. Listen for the band's downbeat drop into halftime and the crowd's eighth note clap locking the backbeat in place.
Me pants look up, me bottom so informer. You know, say that I'm a snowman, I go glam.
Toronto's multicultural stew comes out as dancehall filtered through New Jack swing. A patois-driven rapid flow riding crisp kicks, detuned bass hits, and a hook engineered for instant memory. Darren Snow O'Brien writes from the perspective of a kid who's been locked up and informed on. The verses are machine gun syllables, the chorus a playground chant that became a global reflex. The record's unlikely mentors include Queensbridge royalty, MC Shan helping shape the track's pop sense, and a Canadian studio scene quick to hybridize reggae with R&B gloss. Released at the end of '92, it spent 7 weeks at #1 in the US, winter '93. A first for a Canadian dancehall record and an early sign that reggae-derived rhythms could rule CHR playlists. Under the hood, Informer works because it's built like a DJ's toolkit. The beat is loop tight, every snare sitting on the grid so Snow can sprint without tripping the pocket. The bass line is simple, almost childish, which is the point, a stable floor for dizzying syllables. The production leaves a thin veil of reverb on the lead to soften the consonants and make the blur feel intentional, more hook than transcription. Controversy around authenticity and accent never dented its utility on the radio. In clubs, it proved that a dancehall cadence could be pop currency without dropping its patois. Start here. Clip 0, 0, 0, 20. The hook's first pass. Count how the tongue twist lands square on the 2 and 4, making the speed feel effortless. This video is sponsored by the Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside the Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials. Headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae vibe, roots and lovers. Rock made easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock lore, classic rock must-haves. Open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. Pop lore, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise canceling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs. Hands-free at home? Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert. If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live.
Just one way. Hey, hey, hey.
Take a 70s FM staple and sand it to a lover's rock sheen. That's the Big Mountain formula, and it works because the band refuses to clutter the groove. San Diego singer Keno McWhinney leans into breathy vowels and easy phrasing. The guitars keep a glass-smooth skank. The drums snap softly, like fingers rather than sticks.
Every day,
The result is a reggae makeover that dodges novelty by honoring the song's center, melody and comfort, while swapping Frampton's AOR glide for island sway. A feature in the film, OST Reality Bites, helps the single lift. It becomes a global radio regular, peaking high across multiple countries and finding a permanent home in the wedding DJ crate. Production choices make it stick. The kick is round, not punchy. The snare sits a step back so nothing competes with the chorus. The bass line is legato, leading you into the hook rather than pushing you. Backing vocals arrive like a warm breeze, oohs and ahs that bloom on downbeats, an arrangement trick borrowed straight from Lovers Rock. This isn't reggae as edge, it's reggae as hospitality, proof the form can hug a familiar song until new listeners claim it as their own. Start here. Clip 041.z, chorus. Note the basses slide into the title phrase and how the rhythm guitar keeps exact 16th note discipline without stealing focus.
Let me go now. To let me go was not them.
Birmingham's Handsworth district forged a band that made British reggae political with names attached. On their debut era, Steel Pulse confronts racism not with metaphor but direct address. A minor key horn line like a warning siren. A stepper's pulse that keeps marching even as the lyric lays out the threat. David Hines singing with a mix of calm and steel.
The Ku Klux Klan.
The track arrives as Britain wrestles with the National Front and police powers. Rock Against Racism gigs turn stages into civic space. In some performances, the band uses hooded figures as visual indictment, a bit of a jitprop that made even sympathetic crowds hold their breath before roaring approval. Musically, it's a masterclass in UK roots engineering. The kick is 4 on-the-floor steppers, not laid-back one-drop. Hi-hats tick like a metronome of dread. The bass treads heavy on the tonic, anchoring the lyric's gravity. Horns are voiced close to create tension beats, seconds rubbing like nerves, so when the refrain lands, it feels like a collective clench. Steel Pulse's legacy is the refusal to pretty up reality, a uniquely British sound, tighter, colder, more militant, built for small clubs, community halls, and the language of naming what hurts. By the late 80s, Lucky Dube had already crossed from Mbakanga beginnings into full-blooded reggae, melodies shaped by Zulu balladry, arrangements indebted to Marley's international template, and lyrics that report South African life with plain-spoken moral force. Prisoner, the title track of his 1989 album, reads like metaphor and autobiography at once. Incarceration as a physical reality for many and as a symbol for a nation caged by apartheid's logic. The production is clean. Shimmering rhythm guitars, crisp rim shots, synth pads used sparingly to widen the chorus. And Dube's tenor sits firm in the center, a voice that never needs to shout to sound certain. What made it travel is the balance. Militant content, melodic welcome. The chorus is stepwise, easy for stadiums. The groove is mid-tempo, easy for radios. The band tightens on turnaround so Dube's lines land like statements, not slogans. Outside South Africa, the song becomes a gateway. Many listeners first sense that reggae's conscience didn't end at the Caribbean's edge. Inside South Africa, it's part of a soundtrack that helped people breathe. A reminder that naming the cage is the first crack in its wall. A song built like a pilgrimage. Alpha Blondy had already proven he could move a crowd in Dioula and French. On Jerusalem, he goes further. Hebrew, Arabic, English, folding a city's contested names and prayers into a single chorus. The band's engine is the Wailer School, springy offbeat guitars, steady one-drop, organ bubbles painting halos around the vocal. But Blondy's phrasing is West African, syllables riding the front edge of the beat, vowels softened by Abidjan's cadence. The recording favors clarity over grit, a kick that thumps without bloom, drum fills tucked so tightly they feel like exhalations, horns voiced to lift the refrain without turning it into brass band bombast.
From the Bible to the Quran, Revelation and...
But Blondie's phrasing is West African, syllables riding the front edge of the beat, vowels softened by Abidjan's cadence. The recording favors clarity over grit, a kick that thumps without bloom, drum fills tucked so tightly they feel like exhalations, horns voiced to lift the refrain without turning it into brass band bombast. Lyrically, he petitions the city itself, make peace for the children, and the multilingual approach turns the hook into a portable prayer. In Francophone Africa, it plays as homegrown roots. In Europe, it becomes a stadium chant. In the Middle East, it's controversial and necessary at once. What endures is the scale of compassion, a roots groove that asks the impossible and refuses to sound naive while doing it.
I'm letting you go, and I won't let you.
British reggae veterans with a pop moment that still feels like velvet. Aswad had cut militant roots and dubwise steppers through the late 70s and early 80s. Here they pivot with lovers' rock finesse. The arrangement is deceptively simple. Drum machine kiss on the snare, a satin soft kick, guitar skank compressed to glass, and backing vocals layered like gauze.
Get your arms around me, holding me tight.
Tony Gadd's bass does the heavy lifting, long legato notes that carry the melody into the chorus rather than push it. You can hear the late 80s studio in the choices, gated reverb restrained to a whisper, synth pads widen just enough to halo the heartbreak, and a vocal that sits almost dry so every sigh reads as confession.
I don't want to see it make crying. Just walk away.
The lyric is classic lover's paradox. I'm shattered, but go now and spare me the blow. And Aswad sings it like grown folks trying to stay dignified in public. UK radio embraces it. It goes #1 and takes British reggae back to the top without sacrificing the genre's sense of space and restraint. The trick is empathy. Nothing in the mix hurries you through the feeling.
Look me up and down a bit and turn to each other.
On paper, it's a story song with a wink. On tape, it's a masterclass in feel. 10cc, studio tinkerers of the highest order, build their reggae not by caricature, but by micro-choices. A rubbery, front of mix bass, guitars that chank without ever choking the sustain, percussion that sprinkles rather than shouts. The lyric rides a tourist's misadventure with dry English humor. I don't like cricket. I love it. A line so sticky that the groove almost becomes a delivery system for catchphrases. Listen to how the rhythm section leans back.
I don't like cricket. No. I love.
The kick is fractionally late, intentional laziness that makes the pocket wider, while the hi-hat breathes open on the and like a hand opening a door. 10cc being 10cc, the vocal arrangement is slyly elaborate, call and response, gang shouts, and stacked harmonies that never clutter the middle.
He said, I like it, I want it, I'll take it off your head.
The cultural effect was twofold. It put reggae polite enough for tea time radio into every British living room, and it reminded experimenters that you can engineer looseness if you understand time well enough. Novelty? Only if you miss the engineering.
I think I can make it now. The pain.
American voice, Kingston DNA. Johnny Nash wasn't a tourist in Jamaica. By the late 60s, he was recording there, working with players orbiting the Wailers and absorbing the rocksteady reggae transition from the inside.
There is that rainbow I've been praying.
I Can See Clearly Now captures that moment when the one drop still feels like a sunny stroll. Bright acoustic strum doubled with crisp electric chank. Bass moving in sung steps. Glockenspiel accents catching the light like windshield reflections. The record's genius is plainness. The lyric is direct, the melody uncluttered, and the arrangement leaves so much air that the chorus feels like a window opening. You can hear the Kingston approach in the details. Rim shots instead of bombastic snares, organ swells that arrive and vanish like heat mirages, harmony voices mixed to human sighs rather than choir. It becomes a US number one, not because it shouts, but because it unfurls. 3 minutes of optimism that radio could slide between anything. For American audiences, it proved reggae could be everyday music, not an exotic guest spot. For musicians, it showed how much of the genre's power lives in restraint.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
The most famous case of reggae turning a non-reggae song into a global reflex. UB40's version doesn't start from Neil Diamond's original. It starts from a Tony Tribe late 60s rocksteady cover, translating that Trojan-era bounce into early 80s British pop reggae. The band's secret has always been ensemble discipline. Earl Falconer's bass as the quiet lead, Astro's toasting cameo as flavor, a horn section that writes hooks of its own, and rhythm guitars so metronomic they let the vocal float without ever losing the grid. Stay close to me. Studio choices locked the vibe. Drums recorded dry and close. You hear felt, not just strike. Sax with a touch of plate so it winks rather than wails. And Ali Campbell's featherlight tenor peeled of grit, so the melancholy reads as easy company, not drama. In 1983, it goes #1 UK. In 1988, a US reissue, sparked by radio rediscovery, sends it to #1 again, this time with the Red Red Wine You Make Me Feel So Fine, Toast, foregrounded for stateside ears. The cultural math is elegant, a rocksteady groove, a pop melody, and a performance that treats sadness like a friend you can sing with. It's the definitive pop reggae cover because it never tries to be definitive, just unerringly comfortable. Stay close to me. Start here. Clip 030-050. Chorus loop. Listen for the sax's soft shadow on the melody and the rhythm guitar's unfailing offbeat click anchoring the sway. If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.
Picture this, a Kingston night in the late 70s, bass lines rolling like thunder, voices braiding in three-part harmony, and a sound system turning a street corner into a cathedral. Now imagine most of the groups who built that feeling never made the t-shirt, never cracked US radio, never got their names shouted outside the yard. That's the hole in reggae history we're about to fill. This countdown isn't the usual roll call of legends. It's the deep crate, Studio One sweethearts who vanished after a handful of 7 inches, Channel One suffers anthems pressed in tiny runs, UK sound system soldiers who turned immigration blues into steel-toe steppers, and a Japanese dub collective that heard Tomorrow years early. These bands didn't chase crossover, they defined what the faithful call foundation. A couple ground rules before we drop the needle. No household names. If your cousin who only knows One Love recognizes them, they're not here. 1 key track per group. The door-in cut that unlocks the catalog. Roots first, truth always. Harmony trios, militant steppers, and dub scientists, all part of the same house. So grab good headphones, turn the low end up, and let the snare rim tell you where the time lives. From 1511 we'll map the overlooked architects. 10-6 joins the UK sound system frontline to Kingston's back streets. And 5-1 lands on trios whose harmonies still raise hair, in a dark room. You've heard reggae's headlines. Now meet the groups you've never heard of who wrote the margins and made the margins matter. Tokyo's dub laboratory that dreamed in widescreen. If you only know dub as something that splintered off roots reggae in 1970s Kingston, Mute Beat rewrites the map. In mid-80s Tokyo, clubs lit by neon, record shops importing Jamaican 12-inch singles by the crate. This instrumental unit took the architecture of dub and rebuilt it with a metropolitan skyline, long, patient bass lines, drums that hover like traffic at 2 a.m., and a melancholy trumpet carving melodies into the echo. What makes them singular isn't pastiche. It's method. Mute Beat treated the studio like a fifth musician, live rhythm beds tracked with precision, then sent through reverb chambers and tape delays that turned space into an instrument. You hear the engineer's hand in real time, snares receding into mist, hi-hats blooming into the corners of the room, bass notes falling like elevator shafts. Their best sides feel closer to film scores than to songs. The trumpet doesn't solo so much as haunt the rhythm. Their influence leaks everywhere. Japanese club culture, ambient/down-tempo scenes, and the generation of producers who realized dub could be a platform rather than a genre, an operating system for any tempo, any city. Start with Still Echo. If it hits you right, the track doesn't end so much as dissolve, and you'll swear your room just got bigger. Listen for how silence is sculpted, drops that make the next entrance feel monumental. Horn lines placed like streetlights, regular intervals that define the space. Bass EQ that carries emotion without playing melodrama. When a Jamaican band made reggae music its own thesis. Before roots reggae calcified into a classroom term, Zap Pow already wrote the course title. There, "This is reggae music" isn't a boast. It's a definition repeated until the phrase becomes a mantra. But the group's genius is that they were never just rhetoric. They were a band's band, a horn section that could punch like soul, a rhythm crew fluent in funk as well as one-drop and steppers, arrangements with musicianly intelligence that never smothered the groove. Zap Pow arrived in the early 1970s from Jamaican dance bands and studio ranks. You can hear that working musician sophistication in the charts, tight hits, brass voicings that frame the vocal, rhythm guitar that understands the offbeat is both timekeeper and tone. It's also the reason the instruments lean conversational, as if the band is debating how to set the lyric on fire without burning the house down. Their catalog bridges eras, late rocksteady's warmth, roots gravity, and showband finesse that could hold a festival stage or slide into a studio gig. Put on "This is Reggae Music" and notice how the horns announce the chorus like a banner unfurling. Then dig deeper. There's a whole philosophy of groove hiding under that title. Listen for horn writing that treats riffs like headlines, rhythm guitar that speaks in clipped syllables between the vocal lines, bass lines that preach, not just support.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
Dance, dance this reggae music, dance.
Treasure all sweetness with a spine. Long before roots reggae slowed the tempo and deepened the drum, Kingston was awash in rocksteady, a sleek, romantic sound that prized close harmony.
Your friends all say that you must stand.
The Silvertones came up in that moment, cutting for Duke Reed at Treasure Isle, and they left behind sides that still feel like cool tile on a hot day. Unison turned to three-part bloom, bass lines walking with quiet confidence, and melodies so deceptively simple that you don't realize the architecture until you try to sing them.
Don't stick around and just look at.
True Confession is a masterclass. The arrangement does almost nothing flashy, precisely why it's perfect. The lead vocal carries the confession without theatrics. Harmonies arrive like friends on the step. The drum and bass breathe as if the song is exhaling. Later in the decade, when the mood across Jamaica hardened, the Silvertones could step into deeper, roots-leaning cuts without losing their poise.
'Cause darling, come on and let.
That's the secret of the great vocal trios. Tone is a weapon as sharp as lyric or rhythm. If your only image of reggae harmony is the global giants, the Silvertones reset your ear. They remind you that half the work is blend, how voices stack, where consonants land, when a held note releases tension like a valve opening.
Dance, dance this reggae music.
Listen for lead phrasing that leaves air for the trio to answer. Bass that outlines harmony shifts with near jazzy economy. Guitar chop placed like punctuation, never a syllable too many. Studio One craftsmanship and the art of understatement. Walk into Studio One, Clement Coxone Dodd's hothouse of Kingston talent, in the late 60s, and you'd find a conveyor belt of future standards. The cables fit this world perfectly. Keeble Drummond's soft-grained lead, harmonies that slide like silk, and songwriting that leans on everyday language to tell stories that still stick. Baby Y sounds effortless, but that's the trick, craft that hides itself.
Wasn't in need of nothing, baby, when you left me.
Studio One's band, the Soul Vendors / Sound Dimension, gives them the ideal frame. Drums dry and present, bass humming like a generator in the yard, organ whispering between phrases. The cables never push, they place.
I know that you'll be sorry, but no use now.
Even when the lyric stings, the voices stay measured. The emotion is in the chord choice, the tiny rub where harmonies shade against each other, the way the chorus opens a fraction wider each time. Their full-length statement, centered on what kind of world, is a guide to restraint. You don't need horns or long intros when the song itself does the heavy lifting.
I was the one who loved you.
In a discography full of screaming classics, the cables are the record you pull at midnight, the one that lets the room exhale. Listen for organ pads that behave like a second set of harmonies. The almost conversational tempo, unhurried without ever dragging. A chorus that grows by color, not by volume. Rema's suffers hymns with street corner gravity. Where Studio One polished, knowledge brought raw report. The group formed in Kingston's Rema district in the late 1970s, an area whose politics and street realities were written on the city's walls and in the nightly news. Their songs, championed and produced in part by Tapper Zuki, sound like dispatches. Bass and drums squarely up front, guitars clipped and urgent, voices that carry both devotion and fatigue. Hail Dread sets their stall. The rhythm is sparse, almost severe. The harmonies observe rather than decorate. The lyric doesn't sermonize so much as testify. This is roots reggae stripped to chassis, message and meter, everything else in service of forward motion. The best cuts play like live takes, rough edges included, and that immediacy is the point. The group wasn't chasing crossover, they were documenting a climate. In the broader history of Jamaican harmony trios, knowledge are the counterweight to polite romanticism or polished devotional. They're the sound of necessity, when a community needs songs that can carry both prayer and protest in the same breath. Listen for drum patterns that march more than swing, purpose over flourish. Harmonies used as emphasis, not ornament. Bass lines that feel written first, with everything else arranged around them. Why these five belong in the same chapter. Together, they trace reggae's range in miniature. The silvertones and the cables show how elegance and understatement can say more than grand gestures. Knowledge demonstrates how a trio can turn lived experience into liturgy without losing the beat. Zap Pow proves a band can be musicianly and militant, all while writing hooks that explain the culture to itself. And Mute Beat reminds us that dub isn't a museum piece. It's a studio grammar that cities can learn to speak in their own accents. If you're building a listening session, try this sequence. The cables Baby Y into the silvertones, True Confession. Then turn the temperature up with Zap Pow's This is Reggae Music. Lean into Knowledge's Hail Dread. And end after midnight with Mute Beat's Still Echo. You'll move from veranda light to street corner to empty city blocks glowing in delay. A full journey without leaving the genre's heart. From here, the next chapter widens the circle. UK sound system legacies, Kingston street-level storytellers, and one harmony act whose 7 inches became the secret handshake among collectors. But these 5 are the foundation stones. Turn the bass a little higher than you think you should, and let the records explain the rest. You grew up with the sound of reggae, the heartbeat of the islands. But this Halloween, it's your turn to bring that vibe back. From classic dreadlock hats to full-on Jamaican costumes, we've got the look that takes you straight to Kingston, no passport needed. Show up, stand tall, and let them know reggae never fades. Click the link, grab your reggae costume today, and make Halloween a celebration of the music we love. Community first, message carried by bass. West London in the late 70s wasn't just punk. It was community centers, anti-racist organizing, sound systems, and bands born from them. Misty and Roots grew out of that ecosystem, a cooperative tied to People Unite that treated music as communication before commerce. On record, and devastatingly on stage, they fuse plain-spoken devotional lyrics with ironclad steppers rhythms, bass like a heartbeat, drums like a procession, guitar and keys as light and air. Their reputation rests as much on spirit as on discography. The classic live recordings capture the band's collective voice. Lead lines that sound like exhortations, harmonies that feel like congregation, and a rhythm section that never loses its center even when the tempo leans forward.
Walk in darkness, Jah.
Its roots with the social contract intact, songs as tools for endurance. Start here, Mankind, live, for the chill-inducing chorus and the way the crowd becomes part of the arrangement.
They walk in darkness.
Listen for bass's anchor, rimshot accents that behave like punctuation, call and response that turns a gig into a gathering. Wolverhampton's Ganja Anthem and Midlands Grit. If London gets most of the headlines, the Midlands supplied a different temperature, Colder air, harder-edged step, lyrics that clock the cost of industrial life. Capital Letters took that feel and wrapped it around sound system killers. Smoking My Ganja, Greensleeves, 1978, is the calling card, minor key insistence, chant-ready hook, a rhythm that plants its feet and dares you not to move. What keeps them from being a one-tune story is tone control. The band can ride a sufferer's theme without melodrama, then pivot to sing-along uplift without sugarcoating. The drum sound tends to be right in your face, dry, almost tactile, while the bass pushes just behind the beat, creating that rub UK Steppers lives on. Start Here, Smoking My Ganja. Listen for clipped rhythm guitar that talks between vocal lines, harmony parts that enter like a second narrator, drum tuning that favors punch over room. London steppers that actually hit big at home. Plenty of UK roots outfits built cults. Black Slate did that and scored chart action. Amigo went UK top 10 in 1980, a rarity for a homegrown reggae band. And the record explains why. It's clean, unhurried, and undeniable. With a bass figure that strolls rather than stomps and a chorus you can sing without knowing a word of patois. But the singles only tell half the story. On stage and on deeper cuts, Black Slate favor discipline over flash, arrangements that leave each instrument visible, like layers in a mix you can point at. They're a blueprint for UK steppers done with musicians' restraint. The kick drum doesn't boom so much as speak. Guitar skanks land like clock ticks. Keys supply atmosphere rather than clutter, and the bass holds the center with a dancer's poise. Its roots engineered for longevity. Start Here, Amigo. Listen for the Walking on Sunlight bass line, harmony stacks that widen the chorus without swelling the volume, hi-hat patterns that keep the sway constant. The UK's self-contained pioneers with Jamaican DNA. Before a scene had infrastructure, the Cimarrons were out there proving the model. A self-contained British reggae band, players, writers, touring unit, long before it was standard. Members had Jamaican roots and session experience. You hear it in the precision of the rhythms and the nonchalant way they handle harmony. Their versions work because they're band's versions, pocket intact, internal dynamics alive, every player listening. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone. They bridged club stages and concert halls, backing visiting Jamaican stars one week and headlining college circuits the next. That versatility shows in the records. They can lean rock-steady sweet without losing modern weight, or tuck militant themes into velvet melodies. Sunshine when she's gone, and this house is saying go home. If you want to understand how reggae naturalized in Britain, became not just import but identity, start here. Start Here, Ship Ahoy. Listen for bass phrasing with little blues turns, guitar chanks placed exactly on the offbeat like metronomes, horn voicings that brighten the bar without crowding the vocal. Kingston 12 reportage with Channel 1 Muscle. Back in Kingston, the Morwells, founded by Maurice Blacka Morwell, Wellington, and Eric Bingy Bunny Lamont, brought street-level storytelling to studio-tight grooves. Their best sides feel like newspaper clippings set to rhythm, neighborhood postcards, small victories, social pressure observed without varnish. Kingston 12 Tuffy might be the purest expression of that stance. Cool-headed melody over a rhythm that moves like a careful man in a tense crowd. The band's secret weapon is arrangement sense. They know when to leave the organ whispering, when the rhythm guitar should bite or barely brush, when a harmony should arrive like advice rather than applause.
Must all live as one.
The drums seldom rush, they lean. Bass notes land with purpose, then get out of the way. It's the opposite of bombast. Confidence so settled it reads as calm. Start here, Kingston 12 Tuffy.
Know yourself right now.
Listen for verse lines that end on inhaled syllables, leaving air for the groove. Organ bubbles that function like a second bass. Snare ghost notes that keep the body of the beat alive between hits. Why these five belong together? They map the Atlantic echo of roots reggae. Misty in roots and capital letters show how British communities forged their own cadence. Message first, rhythm-led, built for halls and youth clubs. Black Slate and the Cimarrons prove UK bands could carry both charts and craft without borrowing swagger. The Morwells bring us back to Kingston, reminding us that the template was always song as witness, arrangement as empathy, bass as common language. Cue them in this order for a listening arc. Misty's Live, Mankind, capital letters, Smoking My Ganja, Black Slates, Amigo, the Cimarrons, Ship Ahoy, the Morwells, Kingston 12 Tuffy.
That we must all live as one.
You'll feel the circle close, from community hall to chart to street corner, and understand why these names live forever in the crates, even if they never lived on the t-shirts.
You know, bro, there's just something magical about listening to a reggae album on vinyl. The warmth of the sound, the ritual of dropping the needle on the record. It's a whole different vibe that digital just can't match. And if you've ever wanted to get into that classic vinyl sound, but didn't know where to start, I've got you covered. I've been checking out this Victrola Bluetooth portable suitcase turntable. It's the perfect way to get started with vinyl. You just pop it open, put on a classic album like Bob Marley's Exodus or Toots and the Maidles' Funky Kingston, and let the groove take over. The best part is, it's a suitcase design, so you can literally take your reggae vibes anywhere to the backyard, a friend's place, or just move it from room to room. And it even has Bluetooth, so you can stream music from your phone when you're not spinning records. It's the best of both worlds. This is a great starting point for any fan who wants to feel the foundation of the groove in a whole new way. If you're interested in grabbing one for yourself, I've put a link to it in the description below. Clicking that link and buying one is an awesome way to support the channel and help us keep bringing you more deep dives into the music we all love. So go check it out, and let's get back to the countdown.
Brothers and sisters, reach the road of success.
Suffer sweetness, GG's grit. Kingston could be hard. The Matins made it sound tender without softening the truth. Working closely with producer Alvin, GG, Ranglin, the duo wrapped real-life pressure in country sweet two-part harmony and deceptively simple melodies, then set them on top of lean, unhurried rhythms. Their signature is the way the hook carries the weight. You hum it first, understand it second. Why they matter? They proved Suffer's songs could travel beyond the yard by sneaking steel inside sugar. Their sides became sound system standards, then cinema calling cards. Start here, Money Worries. Hear how the bass walks with calm authority while the voices turn everyday dread into a chorus you can't shake. Listen for rhythm guitar as metronome, bass notes placed slightly behind the beat to create sway, harmonies answering the lead like a friend finishing your sentence. Roy Cousins' devotional blueprint. Under singer-producer Roy Cousins, the Royals built a self-contained roots factory. Songs written with liturgical clarity, recorded with austere warmth, compiled and reissued until they read like scripture.
Pick up the pieces, let's put them.
Their best-known set, often circulating under the title Pick Up the Pieces, is a parade of stately one-drops, parables, and choruses that feel carved, not written.
Not way on high.
Nothing shouts, everything glows from within. Why they matter? They captured the church in the studio, arrangements that serve the lyric first, with harmonies moving like a small congregation. Start here, pick up the pieces. The drums barely move, and yet time becomes undeniable. The hook teaches itself. Listen for organ pads like stained glass, bass lines outlining the harmony with quiet certainty, the way the lead sits in the mix, not on top of the song, inside it. Channel 1 poise, militant undertow. Few trios balanced sweetness and steel like the Viceroys. By the early 80s, they were cutting at Channel 1, locking into that studio's immaculate drum and bass engine while singing with rocksteady bred finesse. The result is roots that walk tall, confident tempos, clean harmonies, and lyrics that point outward, community, dignity, survival. Their classic LP became a touchstone for how to be rooted and modern at once. Why they matter? They made protest feel composed, anger tempered by craft, groove as backbone, harmony as resolve. Start here, we must unite. A chorus built for voices in a room. Listen to how the rhythm section never hurries and never lets go. Listen for snare shots like punctuation, small harmony lifts at line ends, guitar skanks that speak in clipped, perfectly timed syllables. Stark devotions, heavyweight atmosphere. Earth and Stone's best sides sound like dispatches from a quiet room. Spare arrangements, voices close-mic'd and straight-faced, drums and bass set to the slow, watchful pace of Roots in deep meditation. Where some groups sweeten the edges, they pared them back, choruses as statements, verses as testimony. Their celebrated compilation Cool Roots gathers those statements into a single, heavy current. Why they matter? They show how little you need, a line of truth, a patient rhythm, an air to make timeless roots. Start here, Three Wise Men. The melody hardly raises its voice. The gravity comes from space, tone, and bass. Listen for dropouts that enlarge the room, rimshot ticks that keep the pulse human, harmonies used like underlining, not decoration.
All right, CEtrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. But check it, a massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this CEtrends family together. Your support is everything.
Phase 1 lightning in a bottle. If you've ever chased a tune through echoes and dub plates, you already know the aura around the chantels. Cutting primarily for Roy Francis' Phase 1 label, they nailed a run of devotional, minor key Roots anthems whose choruses feel both prayerful and urgent. The productions are deep, spring reverb caverns, muscular bass, percussion like distant weather, Yet the trio's silvery blend never gets lost inside the storm. Why they matter? They distilled the roots trinity, faith, pressure, and melody into records that still make sound systems stand at attention. Start here, Children of Jah. It's the door-in cut, chorus like a banner, verses like a procession, rhythm section marching with implacable grace.
So, when you see I and you see Jah.
Listen for the call and answer between lead and harmony on the last bar of each line. Bass figures that circle back like insistence. Dub treatments that turn the studio itself into part of the choir.
Just to get us in the pen. Just like
If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.